Hey y'all, Mike here with Raider Dog Ranch, and I finally got my hands on this highly sought after Ozark Trail ball bearing D2 pocket knife. If you saw my shorts, you'll know I got this probably a couple of months ago. So I've had it on hand for a while with the holidays. It took me a while to get around to doing the full video, but here we are. And it's kind of good because it's giving me an opportunity to spend some time with it, kind of play with it, and see what I'll think about it. Here we go with a review of the Ozark Trail 7.5-inch slide lock folding knife ball bearing D2 steel. So let's get into it. Now I think this knife has probably been out for, I don't know, 4 months or so. And if you look at a lot of videos, the initial hype around this was crazy. People were so excited about this knife. The reason they're so excited is because it's got a lot of nice features on it. It's got a ball bearing pivot, so you can see it just swings freely, very smooth action. It's D2 steel. I don't have any way to test that, so I have to trust that that is true. But D2 steel is very sought after. It's a very good quality of steel, the perfect level of hardness and softness to hold an edge. But really the thing that people liked about it was definitely those things, but it comes at a $10 price tag. That's unheard of to be able to offer a knife with those features for $10. So everybody was jumping on, talking good about it. Now fast forward 4 months or 5 months, now there's a lot of reviews out there that are dogging on it a little bit, saying it's really not worth all the hype. It's really a $10 knife. I don't have the test capabilities to get into the level of detail that a lot of these guys have. I'm just going to give you an honest opinion of kind of an everyday user, kind of an EDC point of view, not the technical aspects of does the knife hold an edge, what is the sharpness level. I don't have a sharpness tester. So if that's what you're looking for, this is probably not the right video for you. If you're just looking for an average guy's review, I'm here for you. So this ball bearing slide lock is really nice to me. It's almost like it becomes a fidget toy for me. I love just walking around playing with this swing release. I've got a Milwaukee razor that's also like this, and it's got the same addictive quality to it that you just kind of want to play with it all day. You can still use the pegs to open it manually, which is good because that is one of my concerns about a knife that cheap. These are springs in here that will spring load this thing back. That I kind of worry that that's going to break over time, but I've probably released this thing over 1,000 times. No issues for me so far. So like I said, this is a 7.5-inch knife. Break out the handy tape measure to make sure that is accurate. And it is 7.5 inches, which is about 19 centimeters. And when it's closed, well, we'll just do it like this. So that gives you about a 3.25 inch blade with a 4.25 inch handle. So I say this a lot. I've got probably average size hands. Fits very nicely in my hand. The grip goes across all fingers. There's also, you can see the polymer outer edges, but there is metal on the inside. So it does have a metal frame all throughout. That'll make it very durable. The belt clip is removable. And there's a lanyard hole here in the back. The weight, as reported on the website, is 0.22 pounds. So what is that, a quarter of a pound, almost a quarter of a pound? It feels, I would call it about average for a pocket knife. Pretty comfortable, pretty lightweight with the polymer outer sides. The grip texture on it is good. It's not overly aggressive, but you can feel it. And one of the concerns that I had for a knife of this price range is the quality of the build. And there's a lot of things that go into the quality of the build. I've seen some reports that the grind, what they're doing is sharpening these things too fast, and it's affecting the temper on the blade, and it's causing it to dull too quickly. If you want to see those details, there's a really good video, actually a couple of videos out there by Outdoors 55 on his YouTube channel. I don't know him, but good job on that review. He got really technical into the details of this blade, actually ground it down almost halfway through this blade here in order to get to the center of the hardness. His goal was to find out, are they over tempering this edge, causing it to dull, basically, to soften the steel, to modify the tempering of the steel. Really cool technical dive, deep dive into the blade's technology. So that's probably one thing. I mean, that's very believable for a $10 knife that, you know, they're mass produced. They go through production pretty quickly, and you probably don't have skilled laborers building the knives. Totally understandable. So going back to the quality, I think a lot of the quality is going to depend on which knife you get. Some are probably going to be good, some are bad. Another thing that I look for in a knife is the centering of the blade. You should be able to see here that, let me see if I can get that. You can see the blade is perfectly centered in the middle of the hole. You can see it from both sides. Use my hand to be able to see. You can see it's not leaning to one side or the other. Obviously, that creates a much smoother release. I can show you a knife real quick that does suffer from that. You can see this one is off-centered just a little bit, but I've got another one that's even worse. I've got one that literally rubs the frame when you close it. I think this is it. Yeah, this is the one. So you can see this blade is completely on this side. This is a cheap Gerber knife. It's a set of 3 knives that you can get. For the whole set is like 20 bucks. So see, as I close it, it's already touching the frame right here. And so that's probably going to contribute to dulling the knife. And it's just not a smooth experience because there's a lot of drag on that knife. So you can see there's a lot of play in that too. That's very little pressure that causes me to do that. So I point that out because that's another thing I've seen in some of these reviews. People have said they get that effect on these. This one, I have not seen that. The play, I can feel it move just a touch. I can't relate that on video, but I can feel it move just a touch. So there might be something a little loose in there, but it does line up very smoothly. As I mentioned, this is a slide lock, so you can see down inside there, you see it move when it releases, so it locks it in place here. It comes out, and right there, locks into place. Now, I don't remember if when I first got this piece came all the way up. It does not go all the way forward now, but I don't think there's any, I can put pressure on that, and I don't think that's affecting the locking of the blade. It feels very secure. I wouldn't want to test that because that's one of the features that I really like about this knife. This thing was extremely sharp out of the box. Probably the sharpest knife I've ever bought out of the box. Now, I've said this many times, I don't buy real expensive knives, and this might even be the first knife that I've bought that has D2 steel. So that kind of tells you something about the quality of knives that I buy. But nonetheless, it's a $10 knife. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. So if we do some paper cut testing, it's very smooth. I'm starting to see some drag there. I have been using it, like I said, for a couple of months now, and I did use it to cut some cardboard, and cardboard is very rough on blades. So right there across the main part, I'm starting to notice some drag. But up here toward the edge, it's still very sharp. Yeah, see that rip? So you can see where most of the use has been happening right here in the center of the blade. I may be getting some dulling going on there. Okay, so what's my opinion on this knife? For $10, and I really don't think you can go wrong. I think I would probably pay $20 or $30 for this knife if you showed me the performance of it and asked me what it's worth. I think it's very smooth. It seems to be very well built. It's got a very good quality steel, and it's got a really good factory edge on it. So, I mean, it's like I say with most of my reviews, I think it's all in what you want out of it, right? If I was on a job site and I depended heavily on this knife as a tool, then I probably wouldn't buy it for $10. But I think that goes without saying. I don't think anybody's watching this review saying, oh man, I wonder if I should get that if I depend on this all the time. Usually it's worth paying more for a product that you are going to depend heavily on. That might just be because of a warranty, but at least you've got something to back it up. Some of the things sometimes I'll say, well, I could buy 5 of these before I buy one of a $50 knife, and it's questionable whether that knife would be any better, especially when you're talking about the quality of the blade steel. So in a lot of cases, I don't like picking winners and losers. I just like presenting the information that I have in front of me and then letting you make the decision based on that additional information. I don't think I mentioned this. This is a clip point. It's not a drop point. Probably not a big deal for most people. If you thought you were going to use it as a kind of a bushcraft, like the spine on this is a little bit curved, so I don't know if it would be good for striking a ferro rod or anything like that. So if you wanted to throw it in your camp bag, it could be good for some things, but there's certain things that I don't think it would do very well. But if you just needed to cut rope or gut a fish or cut some tarp or something, then it's probably going to do a good job. I would take a knife like this and throw it in a camping bag. I'd throw it in a glove box, throw it in the truck. You know, places like that where you're not using it very often, the blade should retain its edge, and you'll have a nice sharp knife that's probably going to function pretty well because it's just not used a lot. If it's an EDC and I'm using it a lot, I'm worried about this spring eventually breaking in here. Is that a big deal? Maybe not. I mean, you can release it manually, but without that spring, I don't think it would lock. I think if your spring failed, I'm holding it down now, this is the action you're going to get. So the knife might be rendered useless if those springs fail. But that's going to be true for any slide lock knife. They all have the same weakness there. So there you go. I hope that was useful. I'd like to know in the comments from you guys, if you have one of these, what's your experience with it? Like the quality control that I talked about. Did you get one that had a straight edge in the case? What was your experience with the sharpness? How long has your spring lasted? Did you have any issues with the spring breaking? Those are the things that I'd like to know. And I think it'd be helpful to everybody else too if you could share that information. So go ahead and pop that down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. And if you click subscribe to the channel, that does help the channel out a lot. I would appreciate that. And thank you all for joining and watching to the end. And we'll see you next time.